I think the biggest thing and one of my missions of coming into here is focusing on answering your questions, but also using my background of functional nutrition, which is very personalized. I would say having a plan is the biggest one and knowing what your plan is as far as ending your fasting, that's going to be the most important.
Well, welcome everybody to No Fixed Agenda. Mariah Willis is in the studio with us today,
Yes.
and we're talking. We got into before we started recording, we got into a conversation about fitness and you and your husband's gyms, and obviously Omar has his gyms and stuff. So I want to tap into that a little bit, but primary, I want to talk about, and this is a little bit selfish of me. Because I want to attempt this, but I also want to understand a little bit more and have the listener have a little bit more understanding, is the nutrition base in the 72-hour fast. I really want to, I will say that I've seen more and more of it on Instagram, which has kind of gotten me to this point where I'm like, okay, I want to attempt this out. I do intermittent fasting periodically. I've done it for years. So I do kind of have that concept of how to eat, when to eat, all that stuff. But I do want to tap into that. So, but before we get into that, we like to start the show with a little bit of an elevator pitch. Kind of elevator pitch meets dating site.
Okay.
Swipe left, swipe right. What's going to keep people from, listening into this episode? So what would be the elevator pitch for the listener, for you? Personal, professional, whatever it is, what should the listener get out of this?
I think the biggest thing and one of my missions of coming into here is focusing on answering your questions, but also using my background of functional nutrition, which is very personalized. I don't think that nutrition, health, lifestyle is a one size fits all. So making sure that we understand the foundations of what it takes for someone to be healthy, achieving their goals, achieving optimal fitness, while also supporting their body. So for me, getting my message out there of like, I'm a functional nutritionist, what does that mean? Means looking at taking root cause approach for healing. So understanding the tools that we can have in our pocket, like fasting, like supplements, like following certain diets, but also making sure that we have all of the foundations down as well.
Nice. Yeah, we actually interviewed somebody who specializes in gut health and gut nutrition. Sarah Berthenol out of Texas, a friend of mine. She was the first one we chatted about, because I've done kind of the gut studies and kind of, because I was interested in doing that back in the day. So that's awesome that you kind of do a little bit of that, because that is definitely, I've seeing more and more of that pop up from a nutritional perspective, and people wanting to understand a little bit more about that stuff, right?
Yep.
So so give us kind of the background. Where are you from? San Diego? Did you grow up here, and what got you into the nutrition aspect of it? Because you started with fitness, obviously, and
so not from San Diego, but from California. I grew up inland from Lake Elsinore, went to school in Marietta.
Okay.
And then went to Orange County after high school, went to Saddleback College, played volleyball there. And then I was out in Orange County for like 5 years. And then I was like, okay, it's time to actually transfer to a 4-year school. So my husband, we moved to Carlsbad in 2021. And I went to Cal State San Marcos and got my degree in environmental studies. And during that whole transition, after volleyball, going to school, my husband was obviously a trainer at the time. And that's when I really started getting into like lifting and actually getting serious about my health, focusing on like what I'm eating and not just like eating a bunch of crap all the time. So I got my degree and started looking at jobs, as one does after graduating. And at that time, I was really into my health, you know, working out all the time. I was working at a restaurant, so my schedule was very flexible. I was able to work 4 days out of the week and nights and take off whatever days I needed. So looking at jobs was rough because I was like, okay, I'm going to have to go 40 hours into an office.
Yeah, fuck that.
And I was like, how am I supposed to work out? How am I supposed to like keep this lifestyle that I've worked so hard to build? And so then I started like opening my eyes to other possibilities of the health and wellness realm. And also during that time, I had gotten off of birth control after being on it for like 9 years, and I experienced a huge decline in my health.
Wow.
And yeah, that was completely new to me. And so I was like brain fog and just like not feeling well at all, not feeling like myself. So then I got interested in nutrition. Someone that I had known was a functional therapist, nutritionist. So very similar to what I do. And so I was like, let me find out what that's all about. Like, let me research into that. And then I found functional nutrition, and my whole world changed because no one had ever explained how health is very much up to you. It was very much taught to me, and I think in the world, in society, it's relayed back to us. Well, you kind of just are dealt with the cards that you're given.
Genetics.
Genetics.
Fuck yes.
Are you?
And-
What's your back? I mean, in regards to Mexican, Hispanic.
Half Mexican and then just white.
Yeah.
So
No, just white.
Just
it's
white.
Okay. It's okay to say
It's
white.
okay. I'm a mutt.
But no. But I asked the question not to get into the conversation
Yeah.
of race, but like culturally.
Yeah.
Right. Was that
Very, yeah, that's a good point to bring up because growing up, my mom was very holistic, even though it's different. It's different for me looking now. I'm like, okay, you were trying to do the right things, but we weren't there yet.
Yeah.
But you know, we weren't going to the doctors every time we had a cold. It was very much like, let your body figure it out.
Take peppermint, like
Yeah.
some oils.
Yeah.
Essential
using
oils.
food, you know, using food as medicine and eating your veggies and all that. But yeah, that's my background for like family. But yeah, so then I found functional nutrition and it completely changed my whole world, honestly. It changed a lot of my views. It changed my relationship with myself and with other people as well.
Wow.
Just it changed my views on everything.
So for the audience, when we talk about just nutrition, right, can you like in a synopsis talk about what define functional nutrition?
Yeah. So that's been one of my biggest challenges of explaining to people, because when I first got into functional nutrition, obviously I'm learning all about different things, right? And when people ask like, oh, what are you studying or what do you do? And I say, I'm a functional nutritionist. And people don't know what functional nutrition is. They only hear nutrition.
Yeah.
Right.
So they think, okay, you're going to give me macros and you're going to create a meal plan for me. But functional nutrition is very different from just regular nutrition. So functional nutrition is a root cause approach to addressing any issues that someone is experiencing, whether it's gut health issues, hormonal imbalances, autoimmunities, or really just optimizing your health in general. So looking at what's going on in your body that's causing dysfunction in the first place, and how do we rewire that and address that versus just addressing the symptoms alone.
Have they, to go to the Cal State San Marcos situation, do they teach any kind of functional nutrition in colleges now, or is it pretty much it's the nutrition baseline, and then as each individual kind of figures it out on themselves, or is it, hey, this is a functional nutrition class? Do they have those?
Not at Cal State San Marcos. I don't know. So I didn't get my degree in nutrition there. I got it in environmental studies. But there are colleges that do like holistic health or holistic coaching. I don't believe at this time any colleges do like a functional nutrition degree. It's programs that you'll do outside through certifications.
I would assume that stuff starts to, as the industry grows, you know, that's going to be something they're going to deal with. When I was in college, so as I told you before, I'm an event producer, and I wanted to do sports management and stuff, growing up, but there was no sports management, no sports production, and all of a sudden it just blew up out of nowhere. It was like 2 universities were offering it, and now every single major university offers some kind of sports management. And that was, you see the growth of that in the industry. So I'm hoping from the nutritionist perspective that you kind of see that same thing.
You can become a nutritionist at school, at college.
You
right?
can,
but like from a coaching perspective, you can just go. Like, where did you get where did you study to become a?
So the first one that I did was Functional Nutrition Alliance, which was great. It's a year-long program, all online, and you do like case studies, and you get everything that you need as far as education. And then the second one that I completed last year was actually specifically for gut health. So that was through Restorative Wellness Solutions, and we just learned all about the gut, how to do testing for it, how to do testing, all the supplements and recommendations.
This is
poop testing.
This is poop testing.
I talk a lot about poop with
clients
every day.
That is to this day, that's the weirdest thing that I've had to do.
Yeah.
Really? Come on.
only
We just had a 100 episode with doing us doing Pilates, bro.
Yeah, but when you do poop testing, it's like you've got this little stool. It's kind of scooping that shit out of the toilet. It is the most random thing. And you're just like, what am I doing?
No, the first time I had to do it,
what am I doing?
I thought the test would be a lot different. I thought it'd be like a bag.
Can I just poop in a bag? Here you go.
Like you're taking a stool test for your dog. It's here's my bag.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not this. And the spoon that they give you is like this small little micro spoon. You're just like,
you're like, can I get a ladle instead?
Yeah, it's very hands-on. You got to get in there.
You got to
get your hands dirty, if you will.
Yep.
Well,
I can't. Like I got a lot of gut issues, so I have to get a colonoscopy every 3 years or so, and so that was the first thing when I was like, what? You want me to what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy how much information we get from that, though.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. Want to know somebody? Just sample their poop.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll find out a lot about what's going on inside.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so you did all this nutritional stuff.
Yeah.
And you do anything for your environmental science and stuff like that? Like, are you one of those college students just like, I got my degree,
college, here's my money.
Here's my money.
I'm going to do something way different.
I'm going to do something way over here now.
I'm always a very optimistic person, so I always try and find like the good in everything, even if it's a bad situation. And it's like, sure, I didn't end up using my degree, but I still try to use the knowledge that I gained from that degree and connect it to the work that I do now. Yeah, and that's cool. Nature is very healing in itself. So I use a lot of the research that I did there and bring it in with my clients.
That's
and,
cool.
Yeah, the recommendations that I give them.
So let's get into some fasting. Again, it has a ton of positives when it comes to it, and people have been doing it for years, generations, right?
Thousands of years,
and it's kind of one of these things where I feel it can be very trendy.
Yes,
but also but unlike some of the other trendy stuff, it actually has some longer term benefits with it if you're doing it more periodically, or because doing fasting, you're not fasting every single day of every single week of every single month, right? It's these, like we talked about, intermittent fasting versus the 72-hour. And I do want to separate those out really quick and have you kind of give examples of like the intermittent fasting before we get into 72 hours. So explain intermittent fasting first, because that's kind of like I almost feel, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you almost need to try or do that intermittent fasting for at least a week or so to understand what your body is going to do during that shorter time frame, right?
Yeah, 100%. That's a good place to start, because I think obviously the internet has a lot of great information out there.
And a lot of terrible information.
And with nutrition, it's very tricky because everyone has a platform. And so what may have worked for someone may not work for someone else. But as far as getting into the fasting, intermittent fasting is a good place to start for someone who's never tried any form of fasting. So intermittent fasting is when you have a window of the time that you're eating, and then you have a time where you're not eating. So you restrict yourself from eating food. Water's okay. So that would look like eating for 10 hours and then not eating for 14 hours. Or you could go shorter. You could do 8 and 16.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of depends. But I would always recommend starting slow with fasting. Biggest thing for fasting is always considering like what's going on with the person, like what are your goals, what's currently happening in your life. If it's a man versus a woman, if it's a woman, where is she at in her cycle? That's going to be important information as far as when to do it, how long to do it, whatnot. And then working your way up from there. So obviously I wouldn't go just straight from intermittent fasting to the 72 hour. It's like try 24 hours and then, 32 hours, 48 hours, building your way up from there.
What's when you talk about the 24 to 72, really what's I guess the big thing that I think people get the misunderstanding with is I think a lot of people want to get into the fasting because they want to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not really what fasting should be all about, is the losing weight aspect of it. So when you look at it from a 24-hour perspective versus 72 hours, like what's the difference in the body from that perspective?
Yeah. So it's all about what's going on inside of your body at a cellular level. So when you're getting closer to that 72-hour window is when your body starts doing autophagy, which is when your cells are actually cleaning itself out. So cleaning out any damaged cells that's producing new cells. You're producing growth hormone, which is helping your metabolism. And it's really going through and eating any sort of excess fat that you have in there, any sort of inflammation, because you're not introducing any more food into your body. So it's a self-cleanup that's happening inside.
Yeah. When the introduction of food creates inflammation.
It can. That's where it's dependent. And I'm actually working with a client right now who he has struggled for years of just having excess weight, struggling to keep the weight off consistently, doing the yo-yo. And one of the things that he consistently turns to is fasting. And it is because you see the quick results and you feel the benefits right away, especially for anyone who does have any sort of inflammation or excess weight on their body. Of course, you're going to feel the benefits quickly because you're, restricting yourself from eating the foods that you have been, which typically are a lot of processed foods. I think the biggest thing, too, to note is like having those foundations down. If you're someone who has, a good nutritional intake, you have a healthy relationship with food, and understanding that once you are getting off of fasting, you're not just going and getting a fast food meal and introducing all of that junk back in.
I want to get into
I just rejuvenated all my cells, and I feel great. Let me go have a cheeseburger now. But so I want to go back to like the intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
Have you ever? I mean, do you recommend? You talked about cycles for women, and this is where I have a lot of women that are 45 and over, so they're perimenopausal, menopausal, and the issue that I've seen just in my gym that they don't eat enough anyways.
Right.
And so, would you recommend people that are like not having a cycle or starting having their cycle disrupted to do intermittent fasting, or even to go down this journey?
Yeah. To keep it short, no.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of the foundations that I keep talking about is so important, because it all is dependent on the person, right? And especially, it could be man or woman, but for women especially, if you're training and you're not eating enough, why are you going to take away from your body even more when your body is really asking for energy from food and nutrients from food? So yeah, it's all very dependent on the person, but the foundations, can't stress it enough, are so important.
What to Omar's question, to add on top of that, like who shouldn't be doing fasting? If you've got if you're diabetic, or if you've got
red flags of fasting.
Yeah, thank you. There you go.
Red flags for somebody that says, "Hey, I want to try fasting up because I want to lose weight."
Yeah.
Right.
So there's a lot that could fit into that category. The first one that I think of is just anyone who has a history with any sort of eating disorders, because that
There
can
you
be a
go.
very slippery slope for them.
Mm.
Women who are on their period or in their later 2 weeks of their cycle, so in their luteal phase. Um, Athletes can be very tricky as well. If you're someone who is training hard in the gym, or you have a big game coming up, or even any game in general, any sort of athletic event, I would say fasting's not really for you. Um, let's see who else. Pregnant women, or if you're trying to conceive, your body needs those extra nutrients. Um, I work with a lot of women, so I always refer food is how we're getting energy. Fasting's great for getting that cleansing out, but at the end of the day, food is medicine, and food is how we heal and get all of your nutrients in.
Oh. What so how would somebody go about starting? And we'll keep it to, again, 24, 48, and 72 hours really is the primary fasting that you see. Let's keep it from a 72 hour at this point, right? What are some of the steps that people who can do this, what are some of those first initial steps that should be taken as they start their 72-hour fasting?
Mm-hmm. I would say having a plan is the biggest one, and knowing what your plan is as far as ending your fasting, that's going to be the most important. So again, when you're getting out of your fast, you want to make sure that you're not just having like a gigantic meal that's just going to overload your body.
Yeah.
So making sure that you're having something small to start. Focus on protein, getting some veggies in, some fiber in. But again, easing your way into it. I think you're saying if it's 72 hours, this is someone who's already experienced the intermittent fasting and 24
Yeah,
hours
I
and
think so.
whatnot.
And to get away from somebody who thinks that they can do whatever they want,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, oh, I don't need to intermittent fast. Because there are people out there like that are just be
That's
like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it.
Right.
that was like one of the red flags that I think, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that I think people take intermittent fasting as a cosign to eat whatever the hell they want in
Mm-hmm.
their window.
For sure. Yeah,
Well,
I
yeah.
think one of the biggest things too, to your point, is understanding the signs that your body's giving you. So if you are doing a fast, whether it's 24 hours, anywhere to 72 hours, making sure that you're really paying attention to your body and how it feels. So knowing the signs of, okay, this is just my body clearing itself out. So, you might feel that hunger, but it should go away after an hour or two, after your body's using the energy, the stored energy that it has within itself. But some warning signs would be if your blood sugar is getting too low. So, getting dizzy, or you're getting headaches, or you're feeling super shaky, or, you're starting to lose vision, or you can't like pay attention to what's happening in front of you. It's like, okay, introduce some food back. This is not your body cleaning itself out. This is actually your blood sugar
Maybe
is not,
harmful, yeah.
yeah, which is a big thing also right now, obviously blood sugar is a huge topic of conversation online, with diabetes. Prediabetes is rising through the roof.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot more prevalent than people actually understand. So there's a lot of research that shows anywhere from 1 to 2 to 1 to 3 people actually have prediabetes, or they have blood sugar imbalances, which is going to impact obviously your reactions, your experience during fasting. Because if your body is unable to actually use the energy that it has and it's overloaded, then that can cause a lot of issues, and things aren't going to run as smoothly for you.
There's a lot of stuff on social media about glucose monitors when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to like these kind of topics, right?
Yeah.
When you're like, well, what does it do to my insulin when it comes into play,
Right.
right? I want to go back to like that part when you say, hey, have a plan for when you come out.
Yeah.
You say small meals, right?
Yeah.
Um, prioritizing protein and vegetables and all that stuff. Now, when people think of fasting, they're like, oh, well, can I have water? Can I have broth? Can I have like what is the definition of truly like a true fast? Not just like water, because some people
Yeah.
I've heard, you hear all of it, right? On social media, like, oh, I've had sodium because I had to
Yeah.
because of this,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
is that a true fast, right?
Yeah.
And so like talk to us a little bit about not just the plan, but what somebody would kind of experience other than the negative side of things
hmm
when it comes to like the 24, 48, and 72.
Yeah. So, I mean, true fast would just be you having water. Caffeine is usually okay as long as it's just black coffee.
Mm.
Obviously, nothing that has any sort of caloric intake in it.
Well-
So, the goal of fasting is to have your body use any sort of stored energy that is already within itself. So, if you do something like bone broth, even though it's not technically food,
Mm.
there are things in it that your body processes as food. So there's protein in bone
Broth,
broth,
yeah.
right? So your body, even though you're not chewing it,
You're
the
still taking.
makeup of it is
yeah.
protein. So your body is going to break it down as so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's really interesting.
Yeah. And so caffeine, you have some people out there saying, well, caffeine has 5 calories for every serving of caffeine.
Mhm.
Like, what do you mean? You're
Well,
technically not fasting.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
the thing. So some people will do like a cup of coffee and stuff. Is that what you're saying? Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
your body is still processing the caffeine in that. So not doing a Celsius, not doing a cup of coffee is also something you don't want to do.
It just depends on the duration of it and I think what your goal is out of it. You talking about people doing salt during fasting is just making sure they're getting enough minerals in, which is super important during fasting. You want to make sure you're staying hydrated, which is why we're focusing on getting enough water in.
Right.
Yeah.
So those are the things that I've, heard from people that fast regularly. But I really want to caution our audience to like, what are the primary benefits of those different things? Like, I really want to highlight those because I think when we talk about fasting, I think fasting became really popular because of the ketogenic diet, right?
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and it was like, oh well, I'm doing keto now, so I only do this, right?
Right.
And they just bastardize it for a lot of the wrong reasons, right? But what you talked about rejuvenation of things of cells. I want to highlight those things as you go further. Like what happens in the 24-hour fast? What happens in the 48-hour fast? What happens in the 72-hour fast?
Yeah.
From that perspective, like what are the first things that they're going to see versus
Yeah, 'cause
just
your body's
like,
gonna your body's gonna like you get to that 24-hour period,
what's
right?
happening there?
Your body is definitely figuring out like shit.
This
I'm
person-
not eating.
Yeah.
48 hours, you've gotten to the point where you're like, okay, I'm past that,
Yeah.
right? And now my body is, and then you get to that 72 hours, then your body's doing something different. So as to Omar's point, what should people expect out of when you get to those different stage, I guess?
Yeah. So it's not so much as in the 24 hours, this is going to happen.
Right.
In the 72 hours, this is
because
going to
everybody's
happen.
Just like,
But you can think of it as your body just getting a chance to cleanse more. So the 72-hour window and why that's been making such like
headlines.
Headlines on Instagram is because at that 72-hour mark is really when your body starts to do that deep cleansing that we're talking about. Especially if you get into like gut health, any sort of inflammation that's going on in your digestive tract, all of that starts to begin healing itself. So the biggest difference between the 24-hour to the 72-hour is again just that deeper level of cleansing happening. Yeah. But again, making sure you're listening to your body and making sure you're okay after the 24 hours, after the 48 hours and being like, okay, I can push through this.
Yeah.
What's the recommended as far as liquid or water? Sorry. How much water should somebody on as a standard? I mean, obviously everybody's different. Everybody takes in water a little bit differently. So if you're somebody who doesn't drink a lot of water going into this, that's also going to be a huge factor for somebody. Like, hey, I only drink 16 ounces of water a day.
If I can't
Yeah.
hydrate with Celsius and coffee, then I'm screwed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what would be like the standard? Like you should expect to try and attempt to drink X amount of.
Yeah,
water.
so I love talking about hydration because a lot of people think that it's solely just your amount of water intake, but hydration is really talking about water plus minerals and all of the electrolytes that are always so popular, right?
Yeah.
So your cells need all of those minerals and electrolytes to actually do all of their jobs. So in general, the recommended water intake should be half of your body weight in ounces of water. Of course, that's going to vary based on your activity level,
Yeah.
your age, if it's hot outside and you're sweating more, if you have a beach day or you go in the sauna or whatnot. But for someone who's doing fasting and, you know, keeping your activity levels low during that time, I would say half of your body weight in ounces of water. A little bit more would be okay as well.
Yeah. You talk about activity. So this is an
Mhm.
interesting thing. So you don't want to have a big athletic event going on. You don't want what is the recommended activity level?
Mm-hmm.
Zone 2
I would
and
say
below,
zone 2.
really?
Yeah.
And for those listeners who don't know what zone 2 is,
Yeah.
Omar, explain.
Take it away.
Yeah. Wow, on the spot. Hold on. Wait a minute. I wasn't ready.
I'm not ready.
I wasn't ready.
I'm giving you your moment.
Out of your 5 zones, you guys, this is the slowest one that you could do that is actually proven to give you cardiovascular support with the least amount of impact to your CNS. And so zone 1 is going to be where we're sitting here talking. Zone 2, if I'm going on a brisk walk, I'm hitting rate of perceived exertion of 2 to 3, meaning I can probably do this for a very long period of time. Zone 3 is when you're starting to breathe heavily. You could probably say one sentence, and you cannot do this more. You know, you're reaching up to like that 60, 70%. In 3, 8, you are down in the 80% of your cardiovascular capacity, and 5, obviously, you're probably can do that for all of 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So we're keeping it in zone 2 and below.
Yeah. So 40% of your
walks,
heart rate capacity or level.
walks
That starts from the moment you start your fast. It's not I'm going to start this fast. 3 hours in, you go into a heavy workout.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, I'm going to taper. Okay, now I'm going to taper down. Like once you get ready to start, you're pretty much at.
I would say, too, it's also like how long are you looking to fast for? If you're doing a 24-hour fast, and then also looking at where you're at in your training cycle. So maybe you're at, you just started a new program, so you're not in the super intense phase right now.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably get away with doing a training, training session for that day. But going for, let's say, the complete opposite extreme, if you're going for a 72-hour fast and then you're also in the middle of like your hardest week of workouts, trying to add on all that weight, it's like where you're just going to be depleting yourself.
Even intermittent fasters have come into my gym and have signed up to do one of our what we call engine builder. We teach people how to have a working capacity of 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So 60 minutes is kind of like the average, and it's very intentional in regards to what we're trying to get them to do, whether we're trying to get them to do their anaerobic part of their heart rate capacity or just their aerobic heart rate capacity. Like it's very, very intentional. But people come in fasted because they feel like, well,
they're going to burn more.
They're going to burn more, right? And things start to break down.
Yeah.
Right? They start getting dizzy. All of the
blood
things.
Blood
sugar crashes, right? Equilibrium starts to kind of go away. And so
which is scary as a trainer.
For sure.
I've experienced a lot of those where even if you're at the beginning of the workout and you'll see them in their face. You can see they start getting white or they just start talking less. And the very first question I always ask is like, when did you eat last? And I train a lot of clients in the afternoon. And so typically it's like, oh, well, the last time I ate was breakfast at 10 a.m. and I had a bagel. And it's like, Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Got it.
there's the answer.
That's the thing that I tell my coaches, like at the end of the day, you're looking at faces all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like if
Yep.
you start looking at discoloration in the lips is probably like the first thing,
Mhm.
right? Then you see the blank stare.
Yep.
Then after you see the blank stare, it's like, oh shit, this is bad.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. You just see their body
Yeah,
like
you just see their body,
really
and
trying
then
to
all of a
work
sudden
through
they forget
it.
where they're at, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So it's that's why I wanted to talk about these stages, right? Because people always want to look at it from just an overall weight loss, but
Mhm.
we talked a lot about the preparation of like when you come out of it. How do you prepare when you go into it, right? And so my experience with the people that have fasted, and I'm put this my quotation fingers up because they're doing it for all the wrong reasons, right? They're like, well, I'm going to eat everything I have because I know I'm not going to eat for the next 24 hours.
Mhm.
How would you prepare somebody that's doing their first 24-hour, 72-hour
Mhm.
fast?
I would say the biggest thing would be focusing on your last meal. So making sure that it's not about the amount of food that's on your plate. Of course, we want to make sure that you're getting enough food in to get you full and satisfied,
Mm.
but focusing on actually what is making up your plate. So
Mm.
getting in enough protein, making sure you have healthy fats on there. So avocado, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, fatty fish, things along those lines, and then your fiber to get you your nutrients in. And then keeping that mark. The intermittent fasting is great because you're giving your body a chance overnight to rest and recover, which is what we're supposed to be doing. So just keeping track of when was that last meal and making sure that it was nourishing and not
Mhm.
just focusing on the calories or the density of the meal itself.
The volume of food.
The volume,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm interested in and I want to be cognizant of your time, so we'll wrap this up here in a second. But I want to talk about like some of the major benefits of fasting like this. And there's things that I've read that I guess I don't understand or I get questions on
Mhm.
is if you are going through your fast or you're somebody who does get into fasting more periodically, right? Once a quarter, twice a year, whatever it is.
Mhm.
The science behind it is it also helps with fighting cancer cells.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
Yes. So that's one of the biggest what is the word I'm looking for? That would be the person that would be the greatest candidate for fasting is someone who's dealing with a disease such as cancer
Okay.
because of the level of cleansing that goes in.
Is that because you're cleansing out all of the cells and all that? So it gives you
Yeah.
a chance to regenerate better cells, newer cells that
Yeah.
don't have those
So
cancers.
the autophagy that I was talking about earlier is happening where your cells are actually going in and cleaning up any sort of damaged cells or cancerous cells and creating new cells, creating the cells that are actually going to be helping you to heal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there any other scientific benefits aside from that people can also look out for? Like, yes, it's cleaning out the cells, it's helping out with, cancer stuff
Mhm.
is, obviously we're losing weight, with it, but
Yeah.
what else does it mean from a mentally perspective? Is there any scientific stuff behind like the mental health aspect of it too?
Yeah. I think taking a broad picture would be overall you're focusing on any sort of inflammation. So that's going to impact people differently. But the top things that people are seeing are the mental health. So your brain fog is gone away if that's what you're experiencing. Your focus is enhanced. Your memory can start improving. Your digestive tract, like we were talking about, your gut will start healing itself.
Do you notice it from a brain fog perspective, is something like this helping people sleep better in this sense? Have you,
That's a good question. I think that would come down to
and there's obviously a lot of outside factors with
Yeah.
that, right? Like,
Did I have 5 cups of coffee before I went to bed?
right. Well, it's also one of those things too. Like what is your normal sleeping patterns?
Yeah.
Like, do you allow your pets to sleep with you? Do you
Are you
like,
on TV or watching
yeah,
TV
are you watching,
before bed,
are you
scrolling?
doom scrolling
Yeah.
before you go to bed? Like,
Doom
yeah.
scrolling.
I would say yes, though overall most people will start to experience some better sleep.
Yeah.
Just because I think to that point and kind of to the point that you were making earlier of when people are trying to either avoid fasting or they do like intermittent fasting, your windows of when you're eating are so important. And so when it comes to your sleep, you really want to give your body a chance to actually do its job and recover during your sleep.
Mhm.
So you want to make sure that your last meal is 2 hours at least before you go to bed. That way you're getting, 12 to 16 hours of
Fast
the
already done
fast.
while
And
you're
that's
sleeping.
just every day.
That's just an
That's
everyday.
not someone saying like you're fasting, even though it could fall under the intermittent fasting. But your body is actually doing its job and focusing on recovering and instead of focusing on digesting all of the food that you intook.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing, and I think why a lot of people are loving the fasting is because people's eating window is just all over the place right now. And that has a huge effect on our bodies, especially when you talk about circadian rhythm and insulin. And, our bodies are supposed to be working with the day of light and nature and all of these rhythms. And the common thing is that people don't eat during the morning and then they put all of their food into this anywhere from 5 to 6 hour window. And most of that is happening in the afternoons and late at night.
Yep.
And so people are eating, 10 o'clock, 11, 12, maybe later. And your body is supposed to already be sleeping and already be
Yeah.
recovering at that point.
But instead you gave
And
it food.
so I think that's
Yeah.
when people are like, okay, this isn't working for me. Now I need to turn to the extreme and I need to fast or I need to follow this keto diet, when really you should just focus on the foundations and getting yourself in that breakfast or just that earlier window time of eating.
Yeah.
And working in
Yeah,
align with your
I
body.
know. I definitely notice that if I don't get a chance to eat earlier in the day, and I'm trying to shove a lot more into like
100.
Yeah.
that's
lunchtime
my-
to dinner time, and then it's after I'm dinner, I'm still hungry. I'm like,
Right.
I didn't get a chance to really
Yeah.
full on. So
Yeah.
it's tough. Like,
the brain clarity of the fast usually happens a lot faster. I don't know. You could correct me if I'm wrong. If they wait, like you said, 2 hours before they eat, now they have like at least 9 hours, or if they slept 8 hours to kind of come in. They're
Yeah.
already kind of chipped away at their fasted period.
Yeah.
Fasted, I brought it up earlier, like fasting became so popular because of the state of ketosis. You talked
Yep.
about putting what's on the plate. It matters for your first meal or your last meal before you going into that. How much of that, I mean, from a nutritional perspective, when we talk about just macros, right? Fasting is popular because of the ketogenic diet, which is primarily fat versus protein as a source.
Yep.
Is that something you recommend somebody to do that's going to be going into like a longer fast? Hey, get more fats in, because if you don't, this is what's going to happen later on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's 100%. Because if after about 24 hours is when your body starts going into the ketosis mode. So what that means is instead of using glucose as your body's primary energy, it's going to switch to using ketones, which is coming from fat. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when you get to the state of ketosis, it was like ketogenic diet was created for epileptic people. So people that were like having seizures regularly. And so people always, that's why it became so popular, because people saw mad results. They saw mad results. I'm doing keto. They lost 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds in a short period of time. I'm talking 3 months.
Yep.
They're like, I lost 100 pounds. They're like, what the hell? We're like, what are you doing? All I'm eating is cheese and pork rinds.
I think it goes back to like what I was saying earlier is all of these are all great tools to have in your tool belt and they're appropriate at certain times. But at the end of the day, they're the tools and they're not the foundation. So keto diet is great and it can be great for a certain person and, depending on what's going on. But at the end of the day, it's not something that's sustainable. And you have to ask yourself, like, well, what was going on before? Typically, when people are going into a keto diet, at least from my experience and a lot of people that I talk to, it's like they go from one extreme of like just eating whatever the heck they want, a lot of processed foods, a lot of heavy carbs, simple carbs, so a lot of breads, pastas, rice, things like that. And then they think like, well, I'm not seeing results off of this, so I'm just going to cut all that out and just focus on the keto, which is why you're seeing the results, because your body is no longer using all of those heavy carbs and you're going to a much lighter diet. But you need to find balance and figure out a good in between the two.
Yeah. And so I love the fact that you say toolbox, because I think, as popular as fasting is, as popular as the ketogenic diet was, even before that Atkins, right? It's kind of cool that you're talking about it in a way that it's a toolbox, right? And so that's been my experience as people come to me. It's like, hey, I want to do this and I want to do that. And they're basically just taking the noodle and they're throwing it up against the freaking wall. They're going, hey, I want to do this because I'm at my wit's end, because I don't want to do the one thing that I need to be doing, which is just understand first, what the heck am I doing right now?
Yeah.
Like did the fact that I had Costco pizza every weekend, Saturday and Sunday did throw you off for the rest of your week. And then you went to the extreme on Monday and Tuesday, and then all of a sudden Thursday, here it comes, Friday comes around, like, oh shit, here comes that Costco pizza again. Like, and so it's that aspect of you mentioning that it's a tool, that all the diets work.
Yep.
All of them.
Yep.
Whether you're going to be
them,
moderate,
100%.
high carbs, low carbs, ketogenic, fasted, 72, 24, whatever freaking plan you want to do, they all work.
Yep.
They all work.
Yep.
All of them.
Which is why I was really excited to come on to this podcast today, because I obviously get a lot of questions about certain diets or fasting, and they'll come through on my Instagram. And this isn't something that I can just answer through one message or even just like one video on Instagram. It's like it genuinely takes sitting down and explaining that it depends on the person, their situation, what's going on, and that's going to change the answer. But consistency over everything is the biggest answer. But
I love that, because that's the truth. It is like, we are in the fitness space, right? You're in the nutritional space and in the fitness space. And I think the message that people need to take away from this episode is real simple. It's like, you don't know until you know, and then make a decision. And I think, people walk into my gym all the time and they're like, hey, I need to lose 50 pounds, 60 pounds. Saturday, I had a guy come in. He's like, I want to lose 60 pounds. And I'm like, okay, you don't want to belittle them or make them feel like, oh, that's not attainable, because it is, but why?
Yeah.
Right. And what are we doing now?
Yeah.
Right. And then let's figure it out. So I don't touch anybody's nutritional plan. At all. Until I know what the heck they're doing to begin with. And I think people need to listen to this episode and see that, right, you're giving us a lot of good information, right? And they all understand that, but they need to the takeaway is like, let me figure out what I'm doing now. And before you say you're at your wit's end, really understand where you're at before you pull the trigger on trying to implement something new.
It can be, change is very hard,
100%.
and being honest with yourself and your habits and your choices is so hard, and everyone struggles with it. That's why we have a job, because that's our job to say, hey, I'm going to be honest, to be your mirror. And obviously the work can go a lot deeper in actually showing any sort of imbalances and whatnot. But it can be hard for someone to say. I do a food journal with all of my clients, because I say, track your food for a week. I want to see what your eating habits are. And if you have someone do that versus just asking like, oh, what do you usually eat? They're going to be biased and say, oh, I eat healthy. I eat at home most of the days.
I eat chicken.
And you get their
broccoli.
food journal and they're like, well, this was just an off week. It was just, and it's like, it happens every time. It happens every time.
Yes, you're 100%
I'm guilty of that too.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's like,
but I think people are looking for answers, especially with a lot of health concerns going, not just with, weight going up in America, but also just the prevalence of disease going up, diabetes, autoimmunities, hormonal imbalances are on the rise like they've never been. And so people are like okay, there's got to be an answer out there. What is it?
Yeah.
Is it fasting? Is it keto? And it's like,
They're looking for the pill.
yes, it's always yes, and it's always, there's more to the story than just one answer.
Yeah. They're looking for the pill.
Yep.
Right. And so that's why Ozempic and all the semaglutides and all that stuff is so popular, is because it's great. Yeah. That works too, by the way. It does. And it's that first takeaway that I mentioned earlier, like they all work. Absolutely. It doesn't matter what you're doing. But then there's also the reality of the matter is that when you have to stop doing it, because you do, like nothing is sustainable unless it's balanced that you can do for the rest of your life. Like whatever plan is the plan that you can do for the rest of your life. If that's keto because you have, a brain issue, or if that's a balanced macro-based diet where your protein is your priority, or whether that's intermittent fasting, whatever it is that you're doing, it has to be something that you're willing to do for the rest of your life and can do without struggle, without like thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing that I think people
not
need
bringing that stress of like, I have
like,
to do
gosh.
this.
Like I have had clients like, I don't want to weigh my food. Okay, don't weigh your food, but let's figure out what the food is, and then let's get you to a point where you don't have to weigh it ever again.
Right.
Right.
That's the goal. That's the goal, is to make it your second nature and the new habit of like, well, this is just how I eat, which is what I experienced. I, again, went from eating, I never thought about it. I just ate whatever was out there at restaurants or fast food or packaged food. And then actually changing the mindset of like, it's more so of how can I feed myself and my body to support myself, and not thinking of it as like, oh, well, I have to eat this certain way because like, if not, then it was never a negative thing. It was always a positive thing as far as like my changes, which is what I try and help clients with too. It's your food, it shouldn't be negative. It's not a negative thing.
Well, it's no times out of 10, it's like the food is more celebratory in a lot of our cultures. Doesn't matter what culture it is. It's just very celebratory.
Yeah.
But the thing that I'm learning now in this stage in my life is that that if you don't look at your nutritional plan and change and review your nutritional plan in the different stages of life, like as somebody who worked a corporate job for 22 years or 23 years, I ate a certain way and I gained, I bloomed up to 400 pounds plus, right? And then I found fitness, I started working out, and then I started eating a certain way, but it was very restrictive, right? And then I was able to sustain that weight loss for like over 8 years. But then I opened up a business. And that change of life, stage of life changes, right? I got older, right? And so those kind of things, like, I think people need to realize that, yes, as they're looking for the answer or the one solution that's going to fit them for them and their lifestyle, is that to also look at their lifestyles and monitor that and look at it and go, oh, look, hey, I now have a child now. Like, that's a huge life change, especially for moms, right?
Yeah.
It's like now my whole life is revolving around this one child. I barely have time to eat. When I do eat, it's like, right? And not to mention what their bodies are doing after they've had that child, right? And so, like, reviewing your life as a whole when it comes to your nutritional plan and going, like, this something's changed, therefore my plan has to change, right?
Yep.
And so that's it. That's the one thing that I've learned from my own self as I gained weight again, right? After I opened up my business, after I like, why are you gaining weight again, Omar? I'm like, well, because I'm here 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
Right. And then I go home and I eat at 10 o'clock at night because I'm starving.
Yeah.
Right. Because I forgot to eat.
Yeah.
Right. And so those are the things like.
Yeah.
So.
Which is why I love functional nutrition also, is because it's, even though the title is functional nutrition, we're really focusing on diet, your lifestyle, your habits, your mindset, because everything is so interconnected.
Absolutely.
That you can't just focus on diet or just training or just this. It's like you have to connect all of the dots, which is nice because when you do get to that, phase in your life where things are changing, life's happening to you, it's like you don't have to stress that, oh my God, my diet is not perfect and my training is not perfect right now. It's like, I know that I have all of the foundations to get back to that. I'll be okay. My body's going to be good.
That's cool.
Mariah, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your knowledge with us about all this stuff. If somebody wanted to reach out to you and ask more questions, chat with you on a professional level, like where can they find you?
Yeah. I have my Instagram, which is at Connected Roots Nutrition. I also have a website. It's connectedrootsnutrition.com. you can reach me at either of those.
Perfect. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much. We'll share those in the show notes and appreciate you stopping by.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Mhm.